What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is going to be my comprehensive analysis and a tier list of a sword for the best users of colorless Duel Cavalry 4. I make these duel videos for every single duel skill, so if you're interested in these then be sure to subscribe and leave a like, and with that said, let us begin. So the bridal banner this year brings us Saul, who has got colorless Duel Cavalry 4. This was never a thing before, so you will have to use all of your 4 inheritance slots for inheriting colorless Duel Cavalry 4. However, if you want to use your healer in Ether Raid's defense, then odd recovery is also an extremely valuable skill. So it is going to be coming at an opportunity cost if you want to use colorless Duel Cavalry 4 or you want to use odd recovery from Saul. And the thing is that this is a seasonal banner, there's no spark here, so it is not guaranteed for you to get Saul and get this fodder. So you have to be really careful about your spending on this banner, especially if you're a free-to-play player, because it might just take hundreds upon hundreds of orbs trying to get Saul. So that is always going to be a gamble that you have to decide if you want to do it or not. So with that said, let us begin with the best free-to-play users of this skill. We don't really have too many of them, and the best ones, or the best one rather, is in my opinion, LYN Rolf. So his bulk is really good, and you can pretty much run him with something like Spendthrift Bow or even Plagian Bow. And he can have pretty high defense and be overall quite bulky. His damage output is still gonna be lacking against like the whale units and the extremely bulky units, but still he's pretty much the best option that free-to-play players have, along with Bridal Louise. So both of these options are gonna be the free-to-play friendly ones. Spendthrift LYN Rolf is really popular in Ether Raid's defense, and he's a really popular merge project, so he can be an option. And because he doesn't have a preferred weapon, you have to run a 300 SP slotsy skill like Joint Drive Attack or Attack Defense Menace or something like that. So basically you could try to do that. The thing with Spendthrift Bow is that you have to run something like Ruptured Sky, otherwise you're just not triggering your special. So that's why many people might choose to run Plagian Bow Plus, which is also one of the best bows in the entire game, and in many situations can be better than Spendthrift Bow, and in Arena it's definitely much more flexible because you can run Deadeye with it, and this allows you to pierce through the damage reduction, and that can be really valuable. Attack Defense Menace has really good synergy with Plagian Bow if you can afford to do that, and this is definitely going to be taking high investment. So in general with colorless Duel Cavalry 4, this is going to be the theme which you're going to be seeing. So you can pretty much run them as your free-to-play Bow Cavaliers. Merlinus is also an option, but honestly his low attack stat is going to be leaving a lot to be desired of, because he can pretty much function as a support unit, and his best shot at doing damage, especially in Arena where you're going to be facing whale units with extremely high bulk, is pretty much broadly Fan, and that's a seasonal locked weapon. So you could run him with the Rule skill, and because of his high HP he can also utilize Panic Ploy and provide that support to you, but do not expect him to do a lot of damage unless you've got a lot of debuffs on the foe, which is possible with Panic Ploy especially. So this is pretty much the best way, I think, in my opinion, that you could run Merlinus. He's not the most popular merge project, but he's still in the free-to-play pool. And then we move on to the healers. Now I really want to talk about healers in depth because a lot of people might try to run colorless Duel Cavalry 4 on their healers, and I'm going to explain why that is not a very good idea. The thing is that healers do not have a high scoring assist skills or special skills. So this actually leaves them 6 points behind compared to any of these cavalry units who are not staff units. So that is a big drawback, and I would never really recommend, especially free-to-play players who cannot close up the gap between the lost points with like plus 10 merged legendary units, to invest into a healer with your dual skill. The reason is that we're going to be seeing more high scoring units, and your investment might not really last long term. And when it comes to the healers, odd recovery is actually a better option for something like Ether Raid's defense in my opinion than colorless Duel Cavalry. But still, if you really like them, then you could run them. Keep in mind, they are going to be scoring like 748 I believe compared to 754 of these other units who are not staff units and can actually run the Dual Rally Plus skills and high scoring specials. So healers are always going to be having that inherent disadvantage, and unless Intelligence System releases some high scoring assist and special skills just for healers, then I don't really think this is going to be changing that much. So because these healers like Nana and Forest don't have a preferred weapon, again you have to run a 300 SP slotsy skill. So you can definitely make use of support staffs like Flash or Melancholy, and even go with Pain Plus to get the passive damage. And Nana and Forest are definitely pretty popular merge project when it comes to a cavalry healer in the free-to-play pool. But again, I wouldn't really go for colorless Duel Cavalry 4, especially as a free-to-play player, because you're not going to be scoring as much, and the point of these dual skills is to get the scoring. Of course, having that healer with return plus, the support skills, the amazing dazzling staff is going to be really helpful, but it is not going to be helping you score high unless you have like 190 BST plus 10 unit, like maybe Ninja LYN or plus 10 merged legendary units, which most free-to-play players are not going to be having. So the deficit of the points is going to be really significant in my opinion in the upcoming months. Even right now, last week where Ashnard was the bonus unit, it was really hard for many people to get into tier 21. So it could definitely get hard in many of the weeks, but I guess in the easy weeks, you could try to use a healer, but personally, I wouldn't really commit my dual skill to a cavalry healer especially. And that brings us to the free-to-play tier list of the colorless Duel Cavalry 4. So I would pretty much put Rolf and Louise as the best investments from the free-to-play pool, and then everyone else. Merlinus can still score high, but he doesn't give the best damage output. And my tier list criteria is basically balancing out the performance as well as the scoring. So if a unit scores really high, but their performance isn't really that good, then you're going to be losing a lot of battles. But if their performance is really good, like the healers, but they don't really score that high, then you're not even going to be able to get to the tier 21 or even, just be in tier 20.5 in many of the weeks. So that's pretty much the balance I try to strike, and that's why I've got Rolf and Louise in the top spot, because they give you the score, they also give you the performance for a free-to-play unit, and pretty much the best one from the Grail and the 3-star, 4-star pool. And the healers like Forest, Nana, LYN, Silk are all pretty good option if you really want to invest into a free-to-play healer, and they pretty much do it better than Clarine or Priscilla. Again, this could change if they release a high-scoring assist or special skill for healers, or even give like some kind of preferred staff for these other older healers like Clarine or Priscilla. But right now, this is pretty much how I would rate them. So Rolf and Louise are going to be the top units for free-to-play pool. And now let's move on to the premium pool. So the 5-star locked pool does not have a lot of mythic units or legendary units that you want to use your dual skill on. Legendary Leaf is pretty much the only one, but he already scores like a 175 BST unit because of the pair up legendary effect that he has got. So colorless Duel Cavalry 4 does nothing for him. LYN is pretty much the highest scoring colorless Duel Cavalry 4 user in the entire game right now, and because of Sake's Blessing being a 300 SP slot B skill, if she runs the dual skill as well as a 300 SP slot C skill, then she can pretty much score as if she was a 185 BST unit, and that is really significant for a Gen 1 unit and also a ranged cavalry unit who has got Sake's Blessing. Sure, she doesn't have the most insane weapon refine, and she's not going to be hitting as hard as many of the other units here, but still, she can score high and do the job pretty well with Sake's Blessing, so she can be an option for the people who do have her at plus 10 merge. So LYN is pretty much the best scoring option in the entire game right now with colorless Duel Cavalry 4. When it comes to performance though, Harmonic Mia or Summer Mia pretty much beats LYN, but of course she cannot really score as high as LYN. No colorless cavalry unit can really do that, but the thing with Summer Mia is that she has got the damage reduction in her weapon, and that allows you to survive many of the hits without even running a lull skill or running Desperation or Windsweep or anything like that. So you can pretty much commit to a Trace skill, like a FAR Trace skill, and hit and run with Summer Mia, and the damage reduction from her weapon is going to be extremely useful there. So this is pretty much what you could run on her, and she's already a really popular unit in Ether 8's defense, and many of the whales or high spending players are going to be having her because of Resonant Battle, so she's a very strong option with LYN honestly, and when it comes to performance, she's going to be outperforming LYN easily because of her damage reduction and just the superior offenses that she's got going, and also the hit and run ability with the Trace skill thanks to the damage reduction, which LYN cannot really afford to do, and many of these cavalry units cannot really afford to do because they don't have the highest bulk, but Mia pretty much makes up for her bulk with the damage reduction, which is really insane from her weapon in the player phase. And Ruptured Sky also becomes a one-turn special with her, so that's extremely powerful. Brave Veronica is also an option, and many whales can try to run her, especially if you have like plus 10 merged legendary units that's far more possible for high spending and whale players than it is for free-to-play players. So in the weeks where it is not as competitive for you, you could definitely try to use a healer like Veronica, and that could definitely make your runs easier and make other people's run a nightmare essentially. So that's an option, and odd recovery is still going to be pretty good to just get rid of any kind of ruse debuffs or anything like that. So it still can be a pretty decent option on a healer. And young Laurashel is pretty much one of the best healers in the 5-star lock pool because of Staff of Rostin, which has got the flash condition built into it. So without even committing to anything, she can just inflict the flash status on the foe within 5 spaces of her, and that is extremely useful. And she can also hit extremely hard. She's basically like a mage with her offenses, except for the fact that she doesn't have a damaging special. She already comes with a trace skill, and because of the flash effect, she can definitely hit and run. So young Laurashel is an extremely powerful unit for that role, but again, she's not going to be scoring as high because the healer problem, not having high scoring assist or special. Claude and Bernadetta are also some really good options. Claude with his cunning bow is pretty easy to activate honestly in Arena, and attack defense menace is a really good option with that. Bernie can actually be a bit more useful because she basically gets the conditional desperation from her weapon, so she can actually run the LUL skill as well without really missing out on the desperation like Claude. So Bernie is also an option, and again Detta is going to be a pretty fantastic option for any kind of high investment vocab unit like this. And finally we have got newer Selkie. So she's the only melee colorless cavalry unit that we have got in the game. So because of that, she can pretty much function as a hit and run unit because she's got the impact effect in her weapon. She's got -1 special cooldown, so you can have 4-turn Gale Force or even have 1-turn Ruptured Sky, which is what I would prefer, but Gale Force can also be pretty good with a trace skill. So she can pretty much function as a hit and run unit because her niche of running distant ward is gone because you'll have to run the dual skill in Slade. So this is pretty much the way you could use her with the impact effect, and she does have resistance based damage reduction, so that can certainly help you. Now, stuff like Summer Gunthra, Summer Ursula are not as good as Summer Mia, but they can still use Courtly Fan Plus and Wind Sweep combo to pretty much attack for free against the physical units, and that can definitely be pretty good for just chipping them down. So this is going to be a pretty good combo on any kind of dagger unit who's not Summer Mia. So Courtly Fan is absolutely amazing, enabling that Wind Sweep and still letting you double. And the premium colorless Duel Cavalry 4 tier list is pretty much going to be looking like this. I think Brave LYN and Summer Mia are the best ones, especially when it comes to scoring. Brave LYN stands at top, having that Sake's Blessing. And Bernie and Claude are the tier 2 options. They're not really as high scoring as Brave LYN, but still they are pretty good options. And then finally we've got Love Abounds or Valentine Roy. He doesn't have the highest speed, so that could actually hold him back a bit, but still, because Summer Gunthra, Ursula, and Lind are not Summer Mia, they pretty much have to settle at tier 2, which is actually not that bad. And also, newer Selkie, who can function as a hit and run unit. Young Laurashel and Brave Veronica, despite not scoring as high, just because of their sheer utility, can actually be a really good option for whales and high spending players if you can make up for the lost points on these healers, which many whales can in many seasons with their +10 merge legendary units and +10 merge bonus units. So they're going to be making your runs really easy. And for the remaining healers, we do have Elise, who's still a pretty good option, and then the other 5-star locked healers who don't really have a preferred weapon or any kind of utility out of their weapons compared to Elise, Young Laurashel, or Veronica. So they're pretty much going to be at tier 4 as they don't really score as high and they're not really as unique as the other 3 healers. So this is going to be my tier list. Let me know what you think about this, and if you had colorless Duel Cavalry 4, who would you use it on? Let me know in the comments. So make sure to share this video with your friends who are trying to fodder off Saul for colorless Duel Cavalry 4. I went pretty in depth for all of the options and also went over all of the options in a tier list format. So hopefully that can help, and I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support. And if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as trying to inherit colorless Duel Cavalry 4 and another skill from Saul at the same time. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.